This is Centerville Grange's candidate night, and we're very happy that the Grange sponsored it. My name is John Miller, and I've been asked to serve as moderator. Please stand for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The system tonight, in order to kind of get everybody up here at the right time, on each side we have our candidates, and 2 seats at a time. We'll move up here and we'll run through 2 competitions, and then 2 more, and then 2 more. So that way we got visibility up here for everybody. So we thank Lucille Beavis. She's kind of the mastermind behind organizing this and putting it all together. And then Candy Magnuson helped us with the speaker system. Downstairs, when we're done, we have the Grange ladies have brought some cookies and maybe something else, ice cream or something, I don't know. And we appreciate Nancy Kuski for again taping our program here today. She'll put it on Goldendale TV. And tonight we have Matt Marzana, who does documentary movies, and documentary movies by Matt. Matt's out of Trout Lake. Welcome, Matt. As organizers of tonight's forum, our intent is to be informative for everybody, for the voters, fair to each candidate, and pleasant for everyone. All candidates for an office will be treated as alike as we collectively can do it. This year's primary election is 8 November, and vote-in ballots will be mailed out on 19 October. For contested positions tonight, we include a question and an answer format. All questions are to address the position. There's paper at the 2 tables at the entries, and if you have a question, you can raise your hand. Lucille will pick it up and deliver it over to our question table. And we take no verbal questions, open questions from the audience. We have 1 candidate that could not make it tonight. Well, I think we got 2 candidates, but Lisa Evans will speak briefly when I give her name for Ms. Mossbrucker. Okay. My philosophy is I believe we were all taught to learn more by listening than we are by speaking. So please listen up. First, we have some uncontested positions. I will introduce them. Billie Jean Bear is the county assessor that's on the ballot. Greg Gallagher is treasurer. And we have a timer tonight. It's Mr. Doug Miller, who has a PUD commissioner job. Okay, let's move to the contested positions. So, first 2 chairs on both sides, you could come up on it. Just one chair. Okay. Either place. Get your choice. Okay, then I'd like to just start out and let them introduce themselves. Chris, you go first. Okay. 3 minutes, please.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for having me this evening. Appreciate the Grange for hosting us. I always love getting out to these forums, not just because of the discussion, but also getting to see people you don't normally get to see and having real honest conversations about what's going on in our communities. Again, my name is Chris Corey, running for the state representative in the 14th Legislative District, Position 1. I've had the honor of representing Klickitat County since 2019. A little bit about me, I live in Yakima. I have for the past 10 years with my wife and our now 3 kids. Seems like there's always more depending on the day, but as of now we're at 3. We're in negotiations for maybe a 4th. I'll fill you in on that next year. And really when I ran, it was because I found Central Washington a special place to live. I found Washington a great place to live. My wife and I had lived in California when we were first married, and I saw how that state was run, and I wanted nothing to do with it. And unfortunately, what we've seen is that I-5 is a great place for not only truck transportation, but bad policy ideas out of Sacramento to wind their way up to Olympia. No doubt you've heard of some of the things we've done the last couple of years, and when I say we, I of course refer to the majority party in the legislature. We've passed bills that have unfortunately made our communities less safe. We've spent money that we could have given back to people for them to spend in their own way, which we should have done from the beginning. We've really run our state from a position of advocacy rather than good public policy making. So what I would like to see is some change to that. I want to continue to fight for what I think we all share and believe in, especially with rural Washington values. You look at our fiscal situation. The state has had more money now than we've had ever in our history. Our budget has more than doubled in the last 7 years. And this year we had a $15 billion surplus. And unfortunately, the majority voted to spend almost every dime of that. We actually had a net balance of $400 million, which is not a lot of money for the state. We also took a bipartisan rainy day fund that was created after our last recession and moved that over so we can spend that now. So now we're left with no real position in the event of our next recession, which I believe is coming. We've seen bad policing bills that have put our communities at risk, and not just communities here in Central Washington. Some of the worst hit communities on the west side are communities that are struggling now. So I want to fix that as well. My goal is always to be your representative in Olympia, work for you on your issues, and continue to hopefully preserve our way of life out here as we move forward. Thank you.
I'm a little shorter, so I'll only have to move the mic. Good evening, my name is Laureen Contreras. I live in Toppenish, Washington. I grew up in the Yakima Valley, the Yakima Reservation. I'm a Yakima tribal member, graduated from White Swan High School, Yakima Valley Community College, received my bachelor's from Arizona State University, and my master's from University of Oklahoma. I entered into this race because of the fact that the work that I do now is I work for the Yakima Nation, and we do the compliance and cleanup at Hanford Nuclear Reservation. Hanford is the most contaminated site in the nation, and I've had the experience of working with Department of Energy, EPA, ecology, in making sure that our waterways, the Columbia River, and the Hanford area is cleaned up to the best of its ability. That has been difficult, when you're working with government. Funds drive everything forward, so my decision to run for the position is because I also, believe in our rural community, protection of our environment. Can you still hear me? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, my position, I've never ran for a political position. I'm a citizen first, mother, grandmother, and that's the main reason why I wanted to run, is because I want a brighter future for our younger generations, and I'm hoping that with your vote and support that I would also be able to go to the west side and bring our values there and make our voices be heard. It was asked at the last meeting, how would you do that? Well, communication is key, and so the role that I play now, I have to communicate at all levels, federal, state, tribal, so it's very important work. And I would look forward to the opportunity to, continue to visit your communities. And I'll admit tonight, I think I'm gaining weight because we just ate dinner in Goldendale, so it was like really good food. So that's one of the perks. But yeah, getting involved within, all of these communities and the communication that I've had since I started my campaign, I've been appreciative of, the individuals that have reached out to, ask about, the issues that I would support. And basically, I would be your voice. And, and I do commend Mr. Corey here for the work that he has done. It takes a lot for a person to step forward, and and I realized I had nothing to lose in running through this campaign, and I'm hoping that in the future that younger generations will step forward and continue to represent our communities. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want Gina's?
Pardon?
Is it time for Gina's statement?
If you'd like, please.
Good evening, my name is Lisa Evans. I have the honor and privilege of having received the words from Gina Mossbrucker that she would like for me to pass on to you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the Grange for hosting this. And these are Gina's words, so it's in first person. I probably cannot say it as graciously and gracefully as her, but if you can just imagine Gina being up here. She says, I'm so sorry I won't make it back from the airport in time to be with you tonight as planned. Travel is very challenging and unpredictable these days. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your Washington State representative for the beautiful 14th District since 2014. I am eternally grateful. Why should you allow me to continue to represent you in the 2023 term? Family strong, faith strong, leadership strong, and proven strong. My exceptional staff and I have passed over 27 bills that you, the people, have asked me for, including bills that help our military heroes, domestic violence survivors, bills that find missing persons, that protect us from cyber attacks, and bills that take away regulation on our small businesses. My seatmate, Chris Corey, and I have brought home millions of dollars to our district in capital budget projects that improve the communities that you live in, from community pools, animal shelters, buildings, and even roofs on senior centers. This is my home. I am a 6th generation Klickitat County resident. I love the people here, the land, the family values, and conservative ethics. I would love to continue to serve and fight for each of you. I humbly ask for your vote, November 8th. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have questions for our...
Yes, here's the first question. A person we know was just informed that his rental housing is being sold. He works at 2 restaurants in our town. He needs to move November 1st and cannot find housing. A great employee and community member lost. A repeating story. What is your plan to address affordable housing?
Well, I know housing itself is very difficult to find within District 14, and the participation that I've had, especially like through the Acoma Nation, we're always looking for ways to find a solution to house all citizens. I believe in quality of life, and it is very important. I believe that if we were to work with the community, and I did hear at the last meeting that there has been some development that has been ongoing in Klickitat County, and so I think that you just have to work with your county and, see how the development is going. And, land is very hard to come by. So that's one of the first things I think that you would need to look for and, continue to build and expand on, what the communities are in need of. And, and it's rampant, it's unfortunate, but, I think that there's always a solution. And if you work together and pull together, I think that you'd be able to get your housing issues solved. And I would be prepared to, work through the state to find, funding or sources to assist all communities.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a great question. We need all types of housing. We seem to have this notion right now that the only solution to housing is for people to buy their own homes, and unfortunately the way that just doesn't work. I think it's a problem in several areas, and I'll try to be brief. It's a tough question to answer in a few minutes. One, we have over-regulated new building. It costs an average of $30,000 more in environmental codes to build now than it did 3 years ago. While I laud those environmental goals and I want to work on, obviously making clean housing, the problem is when you start adding those, every $1,000, $2,000 you add to a home, you're pricing people out of the market. It also makes it more expensive to build multifamily housing. We had a proposal that thankfully didn't pass this year that would have outlawed natural gas in new homes. That is one of the cheapest, most affordable ways to heat and maintain your home. It's also incredibly efficient to put into your house. And they're talking about wanting to ban that again this year. They've already done that with the building council for new commercial. We've also made it really difficult for landlords. The question referenced a renter. We have made it harder and harder for mom and pop landlords to continue to rent with over some regulation, really lax laws and more tenant protections, which I don't fundamentally disagree with, but when you make it so one-sided to where the landlord has no say or action over their homes, you're going to push them out. I wouldn't be surprised if that person's home was sold because of the regulatory environment. Unfortunately, the only ones that are going to be able to comply are these large mass, apartment complex companies, but they're not investing in rural communities. So my solution is let's roll back some of these regulations. Let's do building tax incentives, make it easier and cheaper to build homes, and then you can get people to move up through that housing process. Because most of us, like myself, started out in an apartment and we worked our way up. But I want to have that rich housing from apartment to home, everything in between. That's the way you're going to solve the problem. Thank you.
Another question?
Okay, what is the primary issue, the most important issue that you intend to fight for, and why?
Do you want me to go or do you want to go? All right. I want to put you on the spot again. That's right. Well, I could give you the typical politician answer and tell you 3 things that are all the top priority, but if I had to pick one out of every issue we face right now, it's crime and public safety, hands down. Because unless your community's safe, unless your neighborhood's safe, and unless you feel safe going to work, going to school, anywhere else, nothing else really matters if you're not safe. I mentioned it earlier, but we had some really bad policing bills that were based more on advocacy and theory than they were on sound public policy and practice. And we were able to roll some of those back, but we need to do more. It's easy to say the tagline, make crime illegal again, but really it's the truth. We are incentivizing people to not only ignore the law, ignore our police officers, but to behave in these manners with no repercussion. We are letting people out on prison sentences early that should not be out. And it's part of a reform process that I think is largely misguided. There are certain areas that we should look at, definitely, but we're not holding people accountable. And I can tell you, if we're not holding people accountable on the little things, then you're certainly not going to listen on the big things. And until we have our communities, not just here, but across the state, where law is not only enforced, but is also appreciated and understood and given into, then nothing else really matters. I don't know if you've been to Seattle lately. With this job and other jobs, I'm in Seattle a lot, and it's unrecognizable. We have people living on the streets, doing drugs and mental health crisis, committing crimes, and we're not able to do anything about it. And our police officers are telling us, please help me. I need tools, I need resources, and we've said, no, you can't go in and engage. And until we fix that problem, really the taxes and everything else are superfluous until we solve public safety. Thank you.
Yes, please.
So what is the primary issue, the most important issue you intend to fight for, and why?
Well, I do agree with the fact that, our communities are unsafe, and a lot of the reason behind that is because of the drug use and gang activity that's occurring. I know in the rural areas, especially on the Yakima Reservation, Yakima County, it's very concerning to me as a citizen and as a tribal member, because I feel that a lot of the rural areas are not protected to the full extent that they need to be. You have homeless people that are also, they need mental health, care, and actually they need, a better quality of life. And so one of the things that I feel that I would fight for is also, to support our law enforcement. I have relatives that are, police. My brother-in-law, worked on up through the DEA. So, it does concern me, because it's you see, like yesterday they had a shooting, and and the convictions are not being carried out to the extent that they need to be. So, it's a all-encompassing problem, because of the drug use and, the drug trafficking. We have a child that's missing right now out of Yakima, and, a 4-year-old. So I don't sleep well, because I'm concerned about, trafficking. There's no answer there. And as a, parent and a grandmother, I am very concerned about the safety and welfare of, not only our citizens, but our youth. We need to improve services so that, as our younger generations are growing up, that they're gonna have, better services and better care than we have. So that would be, my ultimate goal is to, try to, streamline a lot of the services that are necessary, and law enforcement is very important behind that factor. Thank you.
How will Klickitat state representatives bring real-life solutions and change for our child care desert status?
Explain that again.
I'm just reading the question. How will Klickitat state representatives bring real-life solutions and change for our child care desert status? Child care is infrastructure, is what's written at the bottom.
Well, I believe that, overall improvement of services for our youth is very important. I served as a juvenile judge for Yakima Nation Tribal Court, and so I had the opportunity to work with, the state social workers, and, a lot of that falls into like foster placement and, making sure that the services are there for the care of children. And it's extremely, hard to do in a rural community when you have to drive, 25 miles to take your child to, a child care placement, or finding homes that are, licensed to be able to provide care for our youth. After school programs for students, and especially through COVID, I know there was a lot of students that were underrepresented and not supported, and it made their education a lot harder to obtain, because they didn't have anywhere to go. to continue their education when the schools are closed. So, it is important within our rural community that we do step up services for the, children, so that as parents and grandparents, when you go to work, you know that you're taking them somewhere safe, and, they have the ability to be in a good care system. So I hope that answers the question. It was a little confusing for me, but that's my answer. Thank you.
Well, once again, it's a very complex question. I think there's some immediate solutions, and then there's long-term solutions. First and foremost, in Olympia, we started with this notion that child care should move into early childhood learning. And so there was a big emphasis on creating ECAP, which is early childhood, I'm going to miss the other, there are a lot of acronyms in Olympia. So it was a real big focus on licensing and promoting childhood or child care that was education focused, which is a laudable goal. But we also put a lot of requirements then on the licensors, the daycares, and their employees. We were requiring 4-year degrees for people to be in childcare in these early learning environments. I think the solution is this. One, there's a regulatory aspect. We have to roll back some of these strict licensing requirements. There's no need for an in-home daycare to have somebody have to have a 4-year degree to qualify. I think that's one. I think there's also been a real struggle with DCYF, which is the new Department of Children, Youth, and Families, as regulators who've come in and made it very difficult for in-home care. In rural settings, you're not going to typically be able to build the large, complex childcare facilities that you may find in major cities. But that doesn't mean we can't figure out ways to incentivize and expand, promote, train, and build up either home or business adjacent care. I'm not opposed to either. I'd be more than willing to work on it. I don't think it's a Republican or Democrat issue. I think we just have to have a right balance between, obviously we want our kids safe and protected, but we don't want to over-regulate people so that they end up closing shop because they can't financially keep up with that burden. When it comes to the education piece, while I appreciate, making sure our kids are kindergarten ready, we also need to understand that childcare is, the social interactions, the thing they do, those are also very important. And I'm not as concerned about making sure that a child is, at certain grade level by the time they're going into kindergarten. I'd rather make sure that they were protected, healthy, and adjusted, and then we can focus on education stuff as they move forward. Thanks.
Okay, next I'd like to ask the candidates for county auditor and the candidates for the county clerk if you would come up. First we'll go completely through the auditor position and then we'll do the clerks.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming out. It's nice to see some different faces, but it's good to see voters getting out and engaging with the candidates. We think it's important that you make informed decisions. So I'm Heather Joby. I've been a resident of Klickitat County for about 10 years now. Been actively involved in the community through the Guardian Ad Litem program, soccer, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts. I've been the Chief Deputy Auditor for 6 years, so I'm very familiar with the office. I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration, and I bring about 20 years of paralegal and office administration experience and small business experience focusing on customer service to the office, and I appreciate your vote.
Hello all, I'm Joanne in your chambers. I grew up, I'm a hometown girl. I grew up on the hardworking 4th-generation in your family farms in Goldendale, Centerville area. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting. I have 30 years experience with forensic, investigative, and bank auditing. I have 28 years law enforcement experience. I have over 20 years certified fraud examiner. I am an accountant. I know how to find problems and fix problems. I have, over this duration of his campaigning, which I'm normally not a political person, I don't really care for politics, but I want to do the job and do it well. I have heard from a lot of citizens, a lot of concerns that aren't being addressed, and I want to do the job, and I want to do it with addressing those concerns, because those concerns are doable. So I, again, am asking for your vote to become your next Clickjack County Auditor. Thank you.
Okay, with the auditor, questions, please. Give me the first question.
Okay. It has been said the auditor's office needs to purge or clean up the voter registration list. What does this mean and how is this done?
Okay, the voter registration is very, very important because it's a list of those voters who are legally registered to vote. We need to make sure that that stays clean because we want to avoid fraud in an election. Elections are expensive. They need to be properly operated the first time because they're too expensive to do again. We want to make sure that deceased people are not getting ballots. That looks bad. We also want to make sure that those people that are registered actually have a proper, we make sure that they get their mail. They're supposed to tell us, of course, when they change addresses, but we need to make sure that they're getting their ballots. And if there is a duplicate ballot needed, where did the original ballot go? We need to make sure that we know. We got to try to clean up and see if people have moved out of the area and remove them off of the list. We need to make sure that the whole point of the register is internal controls, and internal controls is and I've dealt with it for 30 years, internal controls is controls that are put in place to make sure that if there is a problem, that it is found and does not go unnoticed. It doesn't necessarily stop a problem, it just makes sure that it is found. And that's the whole point of all the internal controls in the election process, is to make sure there is no fraud. And with the registration or the voter register, that just is a list, and that is the very basis for voting. We need to make sure that that is accurate. Thank you.
So the voter rolls are regularly managed and cleaned and assessed. We receive data from other states when voters register in their state, triggering the cancellation in our state. We regularly review papers for obituaries. We receive data from the Department of Health. So deceased voters are purged. Voters who have moved are purged. We are in that database looking for duplicates and other issues on a daily basis. The voter rolls are remarkably clean. Ballots are forwardable, so if you move, those ballots are forwarded. If they are undeliverable, we receive information from the post office telling us that they were undeliverable. There are a variety of ways that information is given back to us, and we verify that information, that the voter has indeed moved, not moved. If we don't have concrete proof that somebody is deceased, we call the house and see if they're deceased. We are very diligent about making sure that the information that we have is accurate and secure.
Okay, next question. If elected, will you review the budget for irregularities, and if you find illegal activities, hold those persons accountable? Would you take legal action against them?
The auditor's office participates in the budget process, as does the treasurer's office. But the budget is the purview of the county commissioners. There's a lot of discussion in open public meeting about what's on the budget, why it's on the budget, why departments feel like they need it. They are required to justify and defend their requests. So I'm not sure entirely how to answer the question about finding fraud. I think that there's a lot of eyes and a lot of hands in the budget that it would be very hard to pull off any kind of fraud in the budgeting process.
That's a very good question. I think that if I was in the auditor position, in my experience, I've always been kind of on the lookout. So if there was some inconsistencies, I would definitely probably get together with some higher ups and look things over, probably involving more than one department. I would say that it kind of depends on where this was found in the budget, and it would probably involve the treasurer's office and the assessor's office, just to kind of see to make sure that we're seeing the same thing. If that was the case, then we would probably take it to the commissioners, and if they requested that we do more, or they wanted to talk to the prosecutor, they wanted to talk to the sheriff's office, would probably take precedence in this matter, and then they would come in and probably want some assistance in this if there was such a thing. But as for doing it, I wouldn't, before I was in law enforcement and I had the authority to do that, I wouldn't in this case, but if you see something, you need to point it out to people, and hopefully it's not what it could be, because we don't want that. And again, that's where we want multiple people looking at things, so that internal control, so that it can't go unnoticed.
Okay, we have one more question.
Okay.
How do your life experiences, education, and training make you more qualified than your opponent?
Well, I have an accounting degree, so I have also done audits, forensic audits for over 30 years. So my experience is in a variety of different financial records. So I can look at records, see irregularities, search out problems, do whatever investigation in order to find a problem. Also, I've been monitoring for compliance, regulatory compliance, dealing with state and federal rules and laws, and that would help me to monitor and to keep the Clickjack County Auditor's Office right on point. If there is any irregularities, we're watching for them. Otherwise, we're processing things as they should be. Thank you.
I really wish the name of the office was an auditor, because it really doesn't describe what we do. We do audit for correctness and completeness, but we're not doing forensic audits. We're not auditing for fraud. It's not a law enforcement position. It's about managing people and processes. And more directly, I've been doing it for the last 6 years.
Thank you very much. Now let's turn to the clerk. Renee.
Welcome, and I want to give a big thank you to all the folks that helped put this on. It's very nice to be able to get together close to home and share a little bit about what's been going on in the clerk's office. I've had the honor of serving as your county clerk for the last 9 years. Prior to that, I worked in the East District Court for 24 years, serving in various positions. 18 of those I was overseeing the day-to-day operations of the court under the direction of the presiding judge. To let you know what the county clerk position does, the office is tasked with being independent of the judiciary and is responsible for protecting the integrity and the accuracy of the Superior Court record for the public, preserving for the public expeditious access to fair and accurate and independently established record of opinions, decisions, and judgments of the court. And as your county clerk, to make this job, to make that happen a reality, I have streamlined numerous processes, creating workflows to get documents electronically transferred to state agencies as required by statute, documents needed by Superior Court administration, and those had all been done in the past by email. So that was a very efficient process that has been established Also, a project that was just completed last month was getting electronic copies of our documents to the Washington State Digital Archives. So what does that mean for you? So if you're needing a copy of a document out of a case and you don't have the time to go to the courthouse, you can order them directly through the Washington State Digital Archives and have them emailed to you, and it usually is there within minutes. I have a link available on my Clickitat County Clerk's website so that you can just go there, do a click, and it'll direct you with instructions on how you would obtain those documents. Also, it's easy enough to Google search it. That's how I usually do it. And of course, if you want to come to the office, we're always available where you can purchase documents, or if you just want to come in and say hello, we're good with that too. Last year, during the 2022 budget process, I was successful in getting the Board of County Commissioners to finance an agreement for an administrator of our document management system. And because of that, other county departments have been able to utilize the document management system and get those processes set up to better and efficiently manage their documents. These changes make your records more secure, improve public access to court services, and boost efficiency in the Clickitat County Clerk's office. Thank you.
I moved to Centerville, Lyle, when I was 11 years old, and I attended middle school at Centerville School, went to Goldendale High School, and then I was the first student out of Goldendale to transfer abroad, and I spent my junior year in Japan, and then I came back and graduated. Afterwards, I decided to move around and travel some more, so I went down to Arkansas for school, and I got my Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies, and I have a double minor in Advertising and English. I moved back in 2018, because I was missing the gorge and I wanted to spend time with my family, and I had the opportunity to take a position under Renee as a deputy clerk at the Clickitat County Superior Court. That was the point that I fell in love with a job that I am desperate to get back to. I love working in the justice system. It is an intriguing and fascinating workspace where the work, while it is the same, it's always different every day. The people you get to interact with, the cases that you get to see, the law is always changing, so there's always something new to be learning or a new process to be looking at to see what could be more efficient. And with things coming into 2022, especially after COVID, it's important to keep the focus on digital solutions that are going to be increasing in the future. That includes looking at an e-filing system that is mandated by the state to be in place by January of 2023. It was also part of the digital record archiving system, which is starting in process. There are a lot more things that are coming down the pipeline that it's important to keep that focus on digital as we go into the future, because that's what's going to increase accessibility for everyone in the court system. If you live all the way out in Trout Lake, having to make the drive all the way into Goldendale just to drop off your documents, or you have to send them by mail and then you have to pay for all of the postage for everything that weighs, is immensely inconvenient, and we should be working on that faster. I love this job because it takes advantage of my best skills. I'm phenomenal at research and project management. I'm very good at organization and communication. And I'm an ongoing paralegal for an independent contractor out of Seattle. So I never left the court system when I changed jobs for IT back in 2020. I've kept my foot in the door, and in fact, I've been able to participate in the court system on the other side as a participant going through it from the consumer side. I'm a better choice for this clerk position because I feel I'm a quick learner, I'm highly adaptable, which is going to keep me focused on the ever-changing legal landscape that comes forward. I'm focused on the future. I do want digital solutions. I'm efficient, and I'm waiting to plan and watching to plan for all of the things that could come up rather than reacting to them after they've been mandated to us. I've worked on both sides, and I know what I want to improve from the attorney side of things for the people who don't work with attorneys and have to experience things as a pro se litigant where you work on your own. And I want to improve the accessibility to the courts and heal the work environment that has become strained in the last few years. Thank you so much, and I hope I have your vote.
So here's the good news. No one submitted a question. No. Okay. So this is for Shelby. What is the law firm you paralegal for?
I am currently an independent contractor for Natasha Black Law out of Bellevue, Seattle. I have been working for her since October or November of 2020, and I'm an ongoing legal assistant for her. We work mostly with estate planning and probates. We also do guardianships and a couple of other minor cases.
Okay, since we had a short time there, let's give them a minute more to summarize anything they want to emphasize. You go first.
Okay. Okay, let's see, something I want to emphasize. I think it's important for people to realize that it doesn't seem like the county clerk is an important position to the public because it doesn't affect you in your day-to-day life until you have to go through the court system. And then let me tell you, as a first goer through the court system, it can be immensely confusing and it can be very difficult to just navigate through, which is why it has its own entire career pathway as a lawyer to learn how to navigate through correctly and hopefully get your case decided for justice. I want to focus on those things that improve accessibility to the court system. So looking into more tools that beyond Northwest Justice Project that is available for consumers if you qualify for a very narrow set of rules. You might get on their list for free aid. Your wait time is probably 3 to 6 months before someone can assist you in your case. There need to be more options, and if that means working with the state and other clerks to find or create those solutions, I'm very keen on trying to figure that out.
So when I started in the clerk's office, the resources that were available for the public were mostly non-existent. But now with projects like Northwest Justice Project, there's Washington Law Help, there are so many more resources that are available online for people to assist them through the court process. It is a lot easier process than what it used to be. And to help people make that be easy to access, I think websites are very important to keep your website up to date, making sure that all those resources are there, the contacts, and how to get a hold of those people. I also want to say that this position requires leadership and persistence, and the skills and experience that I have are what we need going forward, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
And next we'll have the commissioners and the sheriff come up together, please. Start with the commissioners, and Laureen, you're on first.
Good evening. Thank you for everybody who put this event on and gave us this opportunity, and thank you for everybody taking time from their work and their family to be here this evening. My name is Zoeller, and I'm a candidate for District 2 County Commissioner. I'm a conservative, a Christian, a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. For the past 30 years, I've served the people of Klickitat County, working in positions or on volunteer boards. I've been a Klickitat County Planning Commissioner currently and for the last 10 years. With my husband Tracy, I've also ran 3 successful recreational businesses for 39 years in our county. With a background in timber, agriculture, recreation, and water resources, I have a broad range of personal, job-related, and business experience to bring to the county commissioner position. I have hands-on relevant experience with county departments and budgets. I've directed staff and managed employees, and I have working experience with state and federal agencies. I understand their policies and working order, each with their own special acronyms for everything. If any of you have ever filed a state or federal permit, you will understand when I say I speak several foreign languages. I've gained leadership, facilitation, and conflict resolution training through my work at Klickitat County. I have excellent office skills, and I'm well known for standing up for what's right. I'm not intimidated, and I do not go away. I maintain good relationships with our hardworking elected constituents like Gina Mossbrecker, Congressman Newhouse, Senator King, and Senator Honeyford. They lead the way for us in Olympia and are one of our most valuable partners. I'm proud to say I have the endorsement of the Washington Farm Bureau. Last February, I fully retired from my personal business interests, knowing that a county commissioner position, if done correctly, sometimes exceeds 60 hours a week. Since then, I have dedicated myself to the quest for this position. I have sat in on commissioners' weekly meetings and workshops, the 2023 budget proposals, and I've made the rounds to the department heads to better learn about their working order. I've traveled from west to east to visit individual people and businesses during this time, and I've kept a long list of interests and concerns. I will not forget the people I've spoken to, and if elected, I would enter into this position with the understanding I work for the people. In closing, I have to say, I do have an agenda, and it's you, the people, and our great county. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody. I think I see a lot of similar faces from these previous events, so you might hear the same thing from me. I'll start out. I am not a politician. I'm not doing this because I am into politics. I don't have an agenda. I don't represent the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, or the state, anybody. I represent the people of the county. Okay? I have a background in business. 20 years I spent down in Portland in the working for a company, Warren Industries. I spent 10 years in international sales, working as a consultant, trying to get our engineering products into car manufacturers overseas. That was a lot of negotiation, a lot of well, it took a lot of effort that way. I did that for 10 years, got promoted into the National Accounts Manager, where I manage multi-million-dollar accounts and people. From that time, that job allowed me to move. It was a means to an end. It allowed me to move to Klickitat County, where I could buy my small farm, raise my family in rural America, in Klickitat County, be part of the community. My wife and I, we've been involved in the fair for 20-some years. I was a coach in wrestling for 15 years. I coached weightlifting for 15 years, being part of the community. My work experience at Warren Industries, basically it's about negotiation. It's being able to work with the entire county. As a commissioner, I represent everybody, the entire county, RSDs, everybody. But the trick is to negotiate, to be able to work with everybody to come up with a compromise solution that works for the majority of the people. And that's where my strengths lie. Currently, as a farrier, I cover the entire county. I talk to the people that, everybody says, oh, you only work with horse people. But these are people with hobbies, okay? Their hobby happens to be a horse. Well, you might have a hobby as a boat owner, you might RV, but you have a hobby. Now, you have a job, you have children, you have to have dinner, you have concerns, and these are the people I'm talking to through the county. This is what got me motivated to come and be part of this process, to run for county commissioner, and I want to represent you. Thank you.
First question, please.
If elected, will you support the enactment of enforceable solar ordinances to regulate industrial solar development, which would protect the county and citizens? What type of ordinances do you consider important?
Yeah, could you repeat that again?
So if elected, will you support the enactment of enforceable solar ordinances to regulate industrial solar development, which would protect the county and citizens? What type of ordinances do you consider important?
Okay, as a county, our comprehensive land use laws are, in my opinion, non-existent. We need to get something in place to address that. As far as the solar farms go, we need to have something in our comprehensive land use laws that regulates how they go into our community. It's already there, we're gonna have it, but how are we gonna have it? If we don't get something in place and get it in place now, we will be at the mercy of the state, because these companies can also just go to the state and get the approval. They don't have to go through the county. So if we don't get it and start it now, this is something that should have happened 5 or 6 years ago. But it's one of those fires that is in the commissioner's office that needs to be put out. It needs to be taken care of, but come up with a comprehensive land use laws. And I don't know what that looks like at this point in time, whether it's setbacks, whether it's fences, whether it's certain areas, whether it's a matter of a certain amount of acreage can only be used. I don't know what that looks like at this time, because you need to talk to people out here and come up with a solution, as opposed to me dictating what you're going to live with. But at the same token, if we have comprehensive land use laws, we should also have comprehensive tax laws, that we make sure if we have to live with these solar panels, we as a county get compensated as citizens, because we have to look at them all day long. Thank you.
So in my quest over this last winter in the county commissioner position, solar has been on my radar. I've talked to tons of people who live in the community. Everyone has concerns. I've coordinated with other counties such as Yakima County, Benton County, our neighbors, to see what's happening with them. The unfortunate thing with solar in my mind is that it kind of got out of the box at the state level first. And they made some determinations that we just needed to do it, and we weren't ready. We hadn't gone through proper planning. If I am elected in a commissioner position and it's not done yet, I would ask that it be sent to the Planning Commission for the development of ordinances, and that we also include a citizens review board within that, so we can hear everybody's voices for what their needs are in the requirements for setbacks and different issues that are everybody's land use rights. Everybody needs to be heard. But that would be my solution, to send it back to Planning Commission and develop a citizens board. We need those ordinances. We've got to get them on the books as quick as possible. Thank you.
We have 3 questions. Here's the next one. Would you describe the role of county commissioner, how would you describe the role of county commissioner in maintaining the balance of power when state or federal agencies begin to violate constitutional and basic human rights?
Commissioners, in my mind, are your stopgate between the state and federal government. The commissioners have things coming to their table every day that are coming down from the state and federal government. One good thing they've done over the past few years is hire a independent, lobbyist, and they are a watchdog in Olympia, and they report to us once or twice a month to the commissioners to tell us what's coming, and then the commissioners advise them, push back, fight back, get with Gina, get with the other representatives, what can we do to tweak this or change it or stop it before it even gets to our county. If it does come to our county, then I would be first at the table to fight for your rights, to push back on the constitutional issues.
Your constitutional rights are extremely, extremely important, one of the most important things out there. As a commissioner, I'm a representative of you, and my job is to protect your constitutional rights in the best way I can. There is limited authority on what you can actually do, other than when something happens, you have avenues of talking to our representatives at the state. Because to affect your constitutional rights, they've got to change the laws, okay? And if there's a law, you have to follow the law. That's what, as an elected official, you have to do. But you can get the laws changed, and that's what the job of the commissioner would be, is to change the laws to get them to the point that they do not affect your constitutional rights. As far as if it's not a law, your constitutional rights are protected. And that's kind of how I see it. You are going to protect everybody's constitutional rights as a commissioner, but you also have to follow the law. That's basically, I don't know. Thank you.
How are you more qualified than your opponent?
Okay. I don't know that I'm not going to stand up in here and say I am more qualified than anybody else. What I want to do is tell you what my qualifications are. Okay? I have 20 years in business. I am an extremely hard worker. I am honest. I have integrity. I have common sense. These are some things that, as far as I'm concerned, the commissioner's job is a job, just like any other job. You have to learn it. Neither one of us have ever been a commissioner, so it has to be learned. Okay? My position is just simply that I have 20 years in business. I have great negotiation skills, and guess what? I am a very honest man. I have impeccable integrity, a lot of common sense, and also I am very strong and I don't crush or give in to people. If it's the right thing to do, that's what I do. I don't give in if it's for you.
I think what I bring to the table that's a little bit different than Matt is that my experience is current and relevant. I've stayed current working for Klickitat County and the people of Klickitat County for 30 years now, along with running my businesses. So there's never been a time-lapse gap where I wasn't honing my skills or working on issues. I feel like I know the county very well. I've worked very close with the commissioners. I know what's expected of a commissioner, and I'm ready to dive in and take on those responsibilities and work hard for the people of this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we turn to the sheriff's race. Bob, you're up first. You're younger than some of us.
There might be an argument there. Anyway, thank you all for being here, taking an interest in it. It's an important race. I'd like to start out by saying that as your sheriff, I have over 20 years in top management. I was a chief civil deputy for Clark County Sheriff's Office, chief criminal deputy, undersheriff, responsible for over 281 employees and a $14 million budget. I was chief of police in Elko, Nevada, 52 employees, $3.2 million budget. Klickitat County Sheriff going on 8 years, over 40 employees, $5.2 million budget. That's what you deal with in management. In addition to that, you have personnel issues, unions, civil service, and trying to maintain the morale of employees with a limited budget. Education, I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force. I'm proud of it. I've been through the Washington State Law Enforcement Academy, Nevada State Law Enforcement Academy, and the FBI National Academy, a 3-month academy, not 3 or 4 day seminar by the FBI. Associate's degree in Administration of Justice, a bachelor's degree in Administration of Justice, and a master's degree in Criminal Justice. over 80 other law enforcement training qualifications, dozens of service awards for outstanding performance. As your sheriff, I managed in the department. We created the West office, opened again in White Salmon in 2015. We staffed that, so people on the west side can have service over there through the office. I established a canine program within our agency, dog named Profi. Citizens purchased that dog. Not 1 cent come from the county commissioners. The citizens did that. We've also had morale issues when I first took office in 2015, and I believe we've improved since that time on the morale. Now, we have several employees I'm sure would disagree with that. You're not going to run any organization where you don't have employees that don't like what's going on. But I'm the boss. I'm the sheriff. And I have to deal with that. But any employee that I've let go, I can't comment on their disciplinary action. I can't comment on the reason I let them go, except if they're willing to sign a waiver, I'll be happy to discuss the case. So I put that out to all former employees. We run out of time already. Geez, I'm just getting started.
Hello, thank you. My name is Garrett Clifford. Thank you for the Grange for putting this together for us tonight. I expected this room to be a lot fuller, but we've been doing this for a while, so maybe people are now disinterested. But, I'm running to be the next sheriff of Klickitat County. I grew up in Klickitat County. I raised my family here. My wife for 23 years and my four children support me in moving the sheriff's office to a better place. I started my law enforcement career 19 years ago with the Benjamin White Salmon Police Department. After a few years, I moved over to the Skamania County Sheriff's Office. In 2018, I was promoted to patrol sergeant, where I helped manage our K-9 unit. I also manage our property and evidence room, and I help manage our search and rescue teams that work throughout Skamania County. I'm a former 3-term guild president, so I'm familiar with labor management issues, as well as management disputes and discipline and contract negotiations. As a sheriff of Klickitat County, I'm going to bring professionalism, integrity, and character to the office of sheriff. One of my main focus will be on the department itself, to improve it to the best of my ability. I want to improve leadership and mental health training for every deputy and corrections staff. I feel communication is a key issue affecting the sheriff's office. I think command staff is essential for any sheriff's office. I want to ensure regular supervisor and staff meetings are occurring so that the agency has a clear direction for the public. I will establish a positive working relationship with my law enforcement partners. And I want to work to repair the fractured relationship with the county prosecutor's office. As a sheriff of Klickitat County, it's imperative to work to improve the relationship between different groups throughout the county. I look forward to working with other elected officials to make Klickitat County the main focus of our work. The sheriff is an important role, and as you, the voters, you have a more important role in choosing your next sheriff. Let's make Klickitat County a better place.
Yeah, we have 3 questions. You ready? If the state legislature passes legislation that violates people's constitutional rights, will you refuse to enforce it? And I'm just reading the question, so. No, I mean, it says refuse to enforce it, that's what I'm saying.
My job is to protect people's rights, for the constitutional people's rights. My job is also to enforce the laws of the state of Washington. So, with that, if it's plain language, you can clearly see it's a violation of constitutional rights. Absolutely not. But other than that, if it's not plain language, my job as a sheriff and as any law enforcement official, the courts are to determine and interpret the Constitution of the United States. So, with that, I need to, some law may be enforced, it may not be enforced, it depends how you enforce it. Maybe education, maybe arrest, it just depends on what that is. I also need to seek counsel from the county attorney as well as the state attorney general. Also, along with other law enforcement officials. There's a lot of people at play here when that type of issue comes to play.
You're tall. Anyway, I think most of you know my track record. According to that question, if I had it right, if the state legislature passes a law that is unconstitutional, would I enforce it? Is that correct? No, I would not enforce it. I'll make no difference about it. I have stood up for the citizens of this county and will continue to stand up against any government that is an overreach in our citizens here. I'll tell you what right now, if you think for 1 second that these far left wing jobs out there care for your protection, care for you, you're badly mistaken. If the law is a bad law, it will not be enforced. They can take it to the courts. That's where they should take it. But in the meantime, this sheriff will not violate your individual law, liberties and constitutional law. That's period. Thank you.
So this is a question for Bob. What kind of training do posse members go through, and please be specific?
I'd be happy to do that. Thank you for that question. We have about 150 posse members. They go through a background check to make sure they qualify to be a posse member. And then they're sworn in. And the only posse members that carry a firearm in uniform, which I allow them to do, they first have to go through NRA classes and qualify on the NRA range, or on the range under the NRA standards. That's in order for them to carry in uniform. So most of the posse members do not carry, and that's their choice. The posse goes through training every month on various programs. They've been through training on the Constitution, on the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, and can continue through the Constitution on the amendments. The posse has been trained on traffic control. If they come across an accident scene and the deputy wishes to have them help direct traffic, they have training in that. And they go through various trainings. Their main job, I might add, as a posse member, is observe, document, and report. That's their main job. They do not make arrests. The only exception is a limited arrest authority on those posse members who do bailiff work in the courtroom, security in the courtroom. The only reason I give them limited authority, if that individual defendant breaks from the courtroom, starts assaulting someone or running out of the court, and they're allowed to tackle him, hold on to him until a deputy gets there or a city police officer. I could go on for a number of hours here on posse training. We do have a air wing, 7 pilots that fly for the citizens of Klickitat County. They're special deputies. They also go through firearms training as well. And they fly, guess what? at no cost to the taxpayers. The posse is a community policing program. It's good citizens that come together with law enforcement to serve a thing. Oh, I'm out of time already?
So Garrett, this is for you. What changes to the posse and search and rescue will you incorporate in your first years if elected?
Well, like they taught us in leadership training, generally speaking, when you first come into a position of leadership, you make minor changes and you evaluate all the programs and see if they're the best fit for the agency and the community. So that's what I plan on doing. Minor changes unless they're illegal or immoral. Then I'll do major changes. What I see changes for the posse, I want to make sure that they're accountable. I want to make sure that they're properly trained in what they're doing. If they are not doing what they are trained for, they won't be doing it. I do not want them acting like law enforcement whatsoever. They are not law enforcement officers. There's already a law enforcement officer in this county. We also have a reserve program as well. And then there's other law enforcement agencies within this county. I want to make sure that they do not act like or look like or operate as law enforcement officers. In regards to search and rescue, I love search and rescue. I'm going to evaluate that program. I see how it's currently operating. It appears to be operating great standing with the community and with the sheriff's office. So I like how it is being operated right now. But I want to go in and get more details about it, how it's being operated.
Okay, next question. What compelled you to run for sheriff at this point in time, and what drives you?
I've been in law enforcement nearly 20 years, and growing up in Clickitat County, I felt like there's always improvement. I worked in Skamania County for a number of years where I believe I helped improve the system. I helped improve criminal justice, I helped improve the community in working with the sheriff's office. I want to bring that back to Clickitat County. When I started this, friends, family, and community members asked me, Garrett, would you consider running? You have experience. You have leadership experience. That helped me make my decision. I took a long time to make it. Made my decision to run against a different opponent at the time. A few months later, the opponent changed, and it was Sheriff Songer. That's okay, because I still want to bring myself up in the sheriff's office. I want to bring community support in the sheriff's office. I want to make sure that everybody has a voice for law enforcement. And I want to bring the community together, not separate them. I hope that you elect me as sheriff, I can go around and be part of the community and hear your voice and how can we improve law enforcement in this county.
Could you repeat that question, please?
What compelled you to run for sheriff at this point in time, and what drives you?
Well, let me start out by saying initially I had an undersheriff who wanted to run for sheriff. He asked me if I was going to run, and I said, why are you asking? He said, well, if you're not going to run, then I like to run. Well, I got 50-some years in the business, so I don't need the job necessarily. So anyway, I said, sure, and I helped him put up signs and so forth, and then he came to me and said he's dropping out, for a valid reason, by the way. And anyway, I decided, well, I'm not going to lose the posse program or other programs we put in place, canine program and other things. I am not going to lose that opportunity to go into somebody I feel is unqualified to be the sheriff. So That's why I announced I was going to run for re-election, and then, boy, let me tell you, some of that far-left party, Democrat Party, hair caught on fire. They just went nuts. But that's fine, because I'm here to protect your God-given rights and liberties and carry out a professional law enforcement agency, which we've done for over the past 8 years, going on 8 years. And, you know, just quickly, the other encouragement is, I've been endorsed by Representative Chris Corey, Representative Gina Mossberger, Senator Jen Honeyford, Joe Kent, Klickitat County Republican Party, Klickitat County Liberty and Business Alliance, Washington State Farm Bureau, former Klickitat County Commissioners Rex Johnson, Jim Sizemore, Joan Fry, Ray Thayer, 18 different sheriffs in this state, and Constitution Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association President Sheriff Richard Mack. 22 law enforcement officers in 2022, Law Enforcement Officer of the Year, Klickitat, Yakima County Farm Bureau, and the Washington State Grange. So I'm very proud of this endorsement. That tells me they know who has the qualifications to run this department, the Sheriff's Office. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our candidates. Thank them very, very much for coming and the effort they put in. And good evening. Cookies downstairs.